Every wild animal carries a threat assessment running constantly in the background: speed of approach, direction, and eye contact. The calculation happens faster than conscious thought, and the output is almost always the same: get away from the human. This response is not entirely learned. It appears even in species that have never encountered humans before. Studies conducted under controlled conditions and confirmed across dozens of wildlife studies suggest that the threat response to humans may be encoded at a level deeper than individual experience. It may, at least in part, be inherited. When we rescue a trapped animal, cutting a net, pulling it from the mud, or freeing it from a snare, we tend to assume that the animal understands what is happening. Research suggests otherwise. Something more complex may be occurring, and scientists who have spent their careers studying animal behavior are still trying to understand it. The moment a wild animal loses the ability to move, its body enters a state with no real human equivalent. Cortisol floods the bloodstream. Adrenaline rises to levels that would be dangerous if sustained for more than a few minutes. Heart rate doubles, then doubles again. A study published in the European Journal of Wildlife Research found that ungulates caught in fencing can show higher cortisol concentrations than animals injured by gunshots or struck by vehicles. The body burns through every reserve it has, activating every emergency system at once, doing what animals have done for millions of years in these moments: waiting to die, or fighting until they no longer can.
From the outside, this state has a recognizable appearance. Pupils become fully dilated and muscles turn rigid, not merely tense, but locked. Breathing becomes shallow and rapid. Wildlife rehabilitators often describe it as the animal going somewhere else, still physically present, but no longer attending to anything except the immediate threat. When a human approaches a trapped animal, the animal does not perceive a rescuer. It perceives the arrival of an apex predator at the worst possible moment. This is why the thrashing often intensifies as a person gets closer. The animal's threat system interprets the proximity as the final stage of a hunt and spends its remaining energy on the only response evolution has prepared it to make. And then, in some cases, something changes. The animal suddenly becomes still, not because of exhaustion, but because of something more deliberate. Researchers and wildlife rehabilitators describe a visible transition. The rigid body softens slightly. Frantic movement stops, and the animal turns toward the human rather than away from them. It watches.
In December 2005, a crab fisherman discovered a female humpback whale entangled in rope lines about 18 miles off San Francisco. The ropes were wrapped around her mouth, pectoral fins, and tail. 12 crab traps, each weighing about 90 pounds, hung from her body and pulled her downward. She was fighting continuously just to keep her blowhole above the surface. When rescuers arrived, 4 divers entered the water carrying curved knives, aware that a single movement of her tail could kill them. Yet the whale became still. For more than an hour, she held her position while the divers cut away the ropes. At several moments, she even adjusted her body, seemingly making it easier for them to reach the lines. Researchers often explain such behavior through threat pattern recognition. Predators typically approach quickly, aggressively, and directly. Humans attempting a rescue move differently, slowly, without sudden gestures, and often focusing on the trap rather than the animal itself. The animal's brain searches its library of threat patterns and finds no familiar match. Without a recognizable threat pattern, the crisis response appears to pause.
Similar observations have been made in wolves, elephants, and cetaceans. In some documented cases, these animals not only suspend their threat response, but also remain near their rescuers after being freed. Some make deliberate physical contact that appears to serve no immediate survival purpose. Scientists remain cautious about interpreting such behavior as gratitude because emotions in animals are difficult to measure objectively. Nevertheless, species such as humpback whales and elephants possess advanced cognitive abilities and neurological structures associated with social awareness, empathy, and complex decision-making. The honest answer to whether animals understand that humans are trying to help them is that we do not yet know. What the evidence does show is that certain animals can temporarily suspend their fear response when humans behave in ways that do not fit the patterns of predation. What happens internally during those moments, the subjective experience of the whale, the wolf, or the elephant, remains beyond our reach.
As research methods such as neuroimaging and long-term behavior